She made this TikTok, and then a few days later, her family was dead. For weeks, Emily Long's followers had watched her spiral. Messy hair, baggy clothes, crying confessions about feeling stuck. But this time was different. She said that she was making a change and promised her family and her viewers that she was finally getting out of this rut. To anyone scrolling, it felt like a breakthrough. The mom of 3 was about to turn her life around. But just days later, police would walk into a scene that shattered that illusion forever. What they found inside the Long family home wasn't a comeback story. It was a nightmare no one could have imagined. And the mom from TikTok wasn't just posting for sympathy. She was hiding something much darker. This is the devastating case of the TikTok mom who turned her husband's cancer into murder-suicide. From the outside, the Longs looked like the perfect little New England family. Ryan, the dad, was a well-loved school psychologist at Oyster River Middle School. Emily, the mom, worked as the director of operations at a local restaurant chain called Wing It's. They had 3 kids. Parker, their oldest at 8, their bubbly 6-year-old daughter, also named Ryan, and a 3-year-old son, whose name hasn't been revealed for privacy. Their family photos, pure picture book material. Pumpkin patches, cozy sweaters, big smiles. They were the definition of a tight-knit, happy family. But in April 2025, everything shifted. Ryan, just 48 years old, got news no family ever wants to hear. Glioblastoma. It's one of the most aggressive brain cancers out there, and the average survival rate, just 12 to 15 months. It was devastating. And for Emily, only 34 at the time, it completely flipped her world upside down. So she turned to TikTok. Her bio read brain cancer wife. She called it her personal diary, even admitting it was cheaper than therapy. At first, the post looked like raw, emotional updates. She shared videos venting about the endless doctor visits, the radiation, Ryan's swelling brain, the exhaustion, and the fear of living with no guarantee of tomorrow.
It's just like, okay, now we have totally lost control. At least when he was going through radiation, I know that it's been hard on him. I know that it's been exhausting. His brain is swollen. He feels so many symptoms. That has been hard for me as a partner to watch. But now we're in a phase of monitoring where like reoccurrence can happen, where during radiation, it has totally halted. So I feel a lot of anxiety about that.
And that's how it began, a wife, a mom, just trying to cope and make sense of the impossible. But over time, her videos shifted. The tone grew heavier, and the cracks in her perfect family image started showing. And soon, Emily wasn't just documenting Ryan's illness. She was unraveling in real time. Some of Emily's videos are almost too heartbreaking to watch. They don't just feel like updates, they feel like goodbyes in disguise. Take one clip, for example. It's simply titled, "Watch me brag about my husband for 7 minutes." That's exactly what she does. For nearly the whole video, Emily gushes about Ryan, her rock, her partner. The man, she said, was thoughtful to his core. She described him as someone who weighed every decision with integrity, who processed every angle before speaking, and who, in her words, was the most ethical human on this entire planet. But underneath all that praise was something a lot heavier. Emily admitted the hardest part wasn't just knowing Ryan was sick. It was knowing he probably wouldn't live long enough to enjoy the life they had built together.
Now I'm just like, ugh, what a waste. Like, you don't even get to like live in like the fruits of your labor. Like, you've given me so much, and like I don't get to like show that to you and share that with you. And I think that's one of the things I'm gonna miss.
Like, Ryan was still alive, but Emily was already talking like he was gone. Some people thought that was off. Others saw it as her way of coping, like someone who's grieving before the loss even happens. She also talked about the little things that made her marriage special. After long, chaotic shifts at the restaurant, she would come home, spill all her wild, "you're not gonna believe this" stories, and Ryan would roast her, laugh with her, make it all feel lighter. Those quiet nights, the jokes, the teasing, the everyday comfort, that's what she said she would miss the most. And you can tell from the videos she really did love her husband, which is exactly why what happened later feels so hard to wrap your head around. But Emily wasn't just making videos about Ryan's treatment. She also let people in on how their kids were coping, and honestly, this is the part that'll break your heart. She explained how she and Ryan sat their 3 children down on the bed and tried to explain the unexplainable.
We just kind of sat on the bed and we said, you know, the doctors let us know that it is cancer.
and it's kind of a nasty kind of cancer in Daddy's brain. You can't catch it. There's nothing that Daddy did to make this happen, and there was nothing that you did to make this happen.
Imagine being 8 years old and hearing that. Her oldest son immediately asked the one question every parent dreads: is he going to die? Emily said they tried to be honest, but also careful. They told him yes, one day the cancer would take his dad's life, but not today, not tomorrow, that right now, their dad was safe. Her middle child, just 6, didn't fully understand, but clung to her dad, crying that she didn't want him to die. And the youngest, he was far too little to even process it. Emily admitted it was one of the hardest conversations she's ever had, and the way she described it online, you could feel the devastation through the screen.
And obviously that's awful to say to your kids, and our middle, she kind of got it, but she also was just kind of like, I don't want you to die, and I want you to be healthy. Our 8-year-old kind of knew already, but he handled it well.
But here's what makes this all the more chilling. While Emily was publicly documenting this grief, venting her fears, and showing the world her pain, her story was about to take a sharp, dark turn. One nobody saw coming. By May 11th, Emily's posts had taken a darker turn. The love story was still there, but you couldn't miss the sadness running underneath it all. That day, she uploaded a video with the gut punch caption. Want to watch someone actually fall apart before your very eyes? I swear this cancer will be the thing that breaks me. In this video, she admitted she felt like she was living a nightmare.
I hope this is a nightmare and that I wake up one day and they say, JK, just kidding, this is psych, you're not married to anyone, you can start your life over. Or your husband doesn't have brain cancer anymore, this is it.
But of course, this wasn't a nightmare, it was her reality, and it was crushing her. She confessed she'd spiraled into panic, stacking grief on top of fear, on top of exhaustion. Behind the TikToks, she was fading away.
I do feel myself withering away. I am a person where when I'm stressed, I shut down. I feel sick to my stomach. I cannot eat, I cannot sleep, I cannot do anything until this problem is resolved. And obviously, this problem is not going anywhere.
Then came the haunting admission. She said she'd hoped she'd get help before it was too late.
I'm not in therapy yet. I am just not there yet. I have thought about it. My girlfriend, who is a therapist, is all over it. She's ready for when the time comes.
But that time never came, because not long after, Emily uploaded what would be her very last TikTok. In it, she admitted it was the first time in months she had put on makeup and real clothes. She promised she was determined to push through her depression, not for herself, but for her kids.
Today, I am adjusting my perspective and I'm making a point to get out of my depression and do this for my family.
That was Emily Long's final promise. But days later, the police would walk into a nightmare that would leave the community reeling. On August 18th, just after 8:20 p.m., police in Madbury, New Hampshire got a chilling 911 call. Multiple fatalities inside a family home. When detectives rushed to the scene, what they found was like something out of a nightmare. 4 family members dead from gunshot wounds. It didn't take long for investigators to piece it together. This wasn't a break-in or random. They ruled it a murder-suicide. Emily, just 34 years old, had turned a on her husband, Ryan, 48, then on their 2 children, Parker, only 8 years old, and little Ryan, just 6. And finally, she turned the gun on herself.
That's based upon the physical evidence. That's also based upon some other evidence that we've learned with regards to just information that you get from doing a neighborhood canvas, trying to do some background of individuals and find out what was going on inside the home.
And here's the most haunting. The only spared was their 3-year-old son. He was found alive inside the house, but investigators believe he may have been trapped there with his family's bodies for as long as 12 hours. Can you even imagine the trauma? We don't know if he witnessed the violence or if he was shut away in another room, but even at 3 years old, children feel it. The absence, the fear, the suffocating silence. The autopsy painted a devastating picture. Ryan had been shot multiple times. Each child, Parker and little Ryan, had a single gunshot wound to the head. Cold, calculated, cruel. Detectives later admitted there were issues inside that home before the tragedy, but they refused to say what, which almost makes it worse, right? Because it leaves you asking what exactly was happening behind those walls that nobody else saw. And then came the part that stunned people. Instead of giving answers, investigators told the public not to jump to conclusions. But while the police were urging patience, the community was unraveling. No one ever imagined something this awful could happen to a family they had known for years. Ryan was the friendly face everyone recognized. Emily was always out with the kids. And Parker and little Ryan, they were the neighborhood regulars, riding bikes, playing outside, even running a lemonade stand just weeks earlier. And then this, the shockwaves hit.
Neighbors on Harriman Drive went to bed in shock and woke up with questions as crime scene tape wrapped around a nearby home and detectives walked out with evidence boxes, a place where just last week, kids ran a lemonade stand.
It's just that kind of, I don't know, idyllic summer day, and then this, right? How does it go from that to this?
One neighbor who remembered her daughter sharing dolls with the Long's little girl broke down.
My daughter basically gave her dolls, and those were precious times in our life when my daughter enjoyed her American Girl dolls, and so sad to think that that little girl's gone.
The whole neighborhood rallied, piling flowers in the driveway. Even the family's dogs were taken in by a local dog walker.
I just told a friend of mine it's the worst thing that I've ever dealt with in my life.
And while the town mourned, the internet lit up. TikTok comments, Reddit threads, Facebook groups, everyone wanted to know what drove Emily to do this. Friends jumped to her defense, insisting she wasn't a monster, just a woman crushed under unbearable pressure. They pointed to her history of standing up for kids, even reporting a daycare in 2021 for practices. But others could not reconcile it. How do you go from TikToks gushing about your husband, promising to pull yourself out of depression for your kids, to brutally taking their lives? And that's the haunting question. Was this a sudden collapse, or were there warning signs nobody wanted to see? Because just when you think this story couldn't possibly get darker, it does. It turns out Emily Long wasn't just a grieving wife trying to keep her family together. She was also hiding a devastating secret that, once exposed, would send shockwaves through her community. After she died, her former boss, Derek Fisher, came forward to accuse her of embezzling $660,000 from her job at Wingett's, the local chicken chain where she worked as director of operations. $660,000. But it gets worse. Derek said the whole thing unraveled on August 11th, literally 1 week before the tragedy. He and his accountant started noticing cash deposits that never made it to the bank. Plus, a suspicious paper trail of handwritten checks funneled right into Emily's personal account.
I felt like I had no other option but to go to law enforcement. And we were still doing our investigating on our financial end and looking deeper into how far this went back and, how much was taken.
But here's the part that really stings. Derek admitted he actually reached out to Emily first, trying to be patient because of everything else she was going through at home. And then, days later, the murders. Could that exposure have been the breaking point, the thing that tipped her over the edge?
I'm still kind of in shock. I don't really believe that this sort of thing could have, or she was capable of doing something like that.
Because here's the truth. Emily's world was already collapsing. Friends revealed the family was on the brink of losing their home. Ryan was bedridden, weak from chemo. Emily had quit her job, hated where her life was headed, and was drowning in debt. She was brutally honest online about her depression, even admitting she didn't know how to tell her kids their dad was dying. So now the why feels even heavier. Was it grief, guilt, shame, depression, or all of the above, stacked like dominoes ready to fall? But here's the twist. The embezzlement didn't start when Ryan got sick. It allegedly started back in 2023 before the diagnosis, which shifts everything. Because if that's true, then this wasn't just about grief. It wasn't just depression. It was about greed and selfishness. And here's where it gets chilling. Remember how Emily always said Ryan was the most ethical man she'd ever known? Always thoughtful, moral, and doing the right thing. So did he find out what she was doing? And did she silence him before he exposed her? And then there's the way she killed him. Ryan wasn't strong. He was already fighting for his life. Yet he suffered multiple gunshots wounds. Authorities haven't revealed where the shots landed, but think about that. This wasn't quick. It wasn't merciful. It felt personal. Like she wanted him to know exactly what she was doing. Why? And the questions don't stop there. Did she kill Ryan before the children or after? Did he try to protect them and that's why he was shot multiple times? And why spare the youngest? Was it because he was too little to understand, too innocent to remember? The truth is, we'll never know. And maybe that's the darkest part of all. The surviving toddler is now living with relatives after watching his entire world collapse in ways he can't even begin to process. Experts warn that while he may not truly understand what death means, he'll carry scars that words may never explain. The clinginess, the nightmares, the regression, those aren't just phases. They're echoes of trauma that could follow him for the rest of his life. And here's the part that absolutely breaks me. The one person who was supposed to protect him was the one who hurt him the most. Which makes the questions even heavier. Because beyond the shock and the horror, this case forces us to confront something terrifying. How much do we really know about those so-called perfect families we scroll past every day? The cozy TikToks, the lemonade stands, the smiling fall photos. They painted a picture of stability, but behind the filters, pressure, secrets, and unraveling that no one wanted to see. So here's the real question. How many cries for help are we scrolling past every single day? And how many more tragedies are hiding in plain sight, just waiting to explode?